The frozen steel of the Lancaster bomber's rear turret bit into Evan Griffiths's gloved hands, like the jaws of a Welsh dragon, at 22,000 feet over the Ruhr Valley on the night of March 14th, 1944. Wind howled through hairline cracks in the Perspex dome at 220 miles per hour, carrying the acrid stench of burning glycol from a punctured engine 3 nacelles forward. Below, the inferno of 1,200 Krupp factory searchlights stabbed upward, painting the sky in brutal white cones, while 784 Lancasters droned in loose box formation toward Dortmund. Tracer rounds from flak batteries, each 88mm shell climbing at 2,800 feet per second, ripped past at 50-yard intervals, turning the blackness into a deadly light show. Griffiths, eyes watering from minus 40 degrees Celsius cold, wrestled the jammed hydraulic traverse ring that refused to spin his 4 Browning .303 machine guns toward the dark shadow slipping in from 11 o'clock low. His breath fogged the gun sight in thick clouds. Dead. But Evan Griffiths wasn't done. The 32-year-old pitman from Tonypandy, with calluses thick as boot leather from 14 years hacking coal seams 800 feet underground, spotted the glint of a 2-penny iron nail wedged in his toolbox, a leftover from patching a bomb bay strut 2 days prior. No time for finesse. He yanked the turret's access hatch, ignoring the 400-mile-an-hour slipstream clawing at his flying suit, and drove the nail's 2-inch shaft into the hydraulic piston seal with a single hammer blow from his wrench handle. Oil pressure surged. The turret whirred alive for the first time in 17 minutes. His guns barked, 1,200 rounds per minute, spitting 2,400 feet per second lead, and the Ju-88 Shadow erupted in orange fireball 300 yards starboard, tumbling into the clouds with 5 chutes blooming too late. 1 down. But 3 more FW-190s wheeled in, cannons flashing at 800 meters. Griffiths tracked them, the nail holding firm against 2,500 psi bursts. The kill tally climbed fast that night. 4 fighters positive, 2 probables, saving his crew from the 29% loss rate Bomber Command endured over the Ruhr that winter, where 1,047 heavies went down in February alone. Yet as the Lancaster limped home to RAF Wychford with 214 holes stitched in its skin, Griffiths clutched that nail like a talisman, knowing it had rewritten survival odds from 0 to fighting chance. Evan Griffiths hadn't planned on war. Born in 1912, amid the Ronda coal strikes that idled 150,000 miners for 44 weeks, he dropped out of school at 14 to shovel 12-ton shifts in the Cambrian pit, where methane blasts claimed 37 mates in a single 1929 roof fall. By 1939, at 27, he was a haulage hand, wrestling 4-foot ponies through 3-foot seams slick with slurry, earning 18 shillings weekly to feed a wife and 2 boys in a terraced house without electric. Call-up found him unfit for infantry, lungs scarred from silicosis dust, but perfect for air gunnery school at RAF Stormy Down, where 62% of trainees washed out on the freezing Nash and Thompson turrets that chewed fingers and morale alike. Posted to 115 Squadron in April 1943, Griffiths flew his first op on June 12th. Dusseldorf, 783 bombers, 36 lost to night fighters, whose schräge Musik, upward-firing cannons, gutted bellies at 200 yards unseen. His turret jammed on the 3rd sortie, hydraulic seals failing under minus 30-degree chill as per the standard 1,800 psi rating, costing 2 crews, when Me-110s pounced. "Bloody useless tin cans," he'd mutter in the mess, nursing frost-bitten knuckles while ground crews swapped seals at £4.50 each, delaying ops by 48 hours. By November, after 23 missions and 12 inches of ice build-up recorded on one turret inspection, Griffiths had seen 167 squadron mates vanish. Parachutes frozen shut or shredded by tree-level impacts at 180 miles per hour. The problem gnawed at him during briefings. Nash turrets spun via a 4-cylinder hydraulic pump, driving a ring gear through oil at 1,500 revolutions per minute, but seals cracked under thermal shock. Glycol coolant leaks froze the fluid solid in seconds, locking the traverse like concrete. Squadron stats showed 47% failure rate above 20,000 feet, with 312 turrets scrapped in 1943 alone at £2,800 per unit. Engineers blamed alloy fatigue. Griffiths, smelling the same hydraulic tang underground as in pits where pumps seized on bad oil, knew better. It was seal blow-by, micro tears letting pressure bleed off at 200 psi drops per minute. Fees demanded factory overhauls, grounding planes for 72 hours while Luftwaffe prowled. Discovery struck on February 22, 1944, during a routine check on his Lancaster P. Popsy at Wychford dispersals. Snow flurries whipped across the concrete at 28 degrees Fahrenheit as Griffiths, elbow-deep in oil sump residue, tested a spare turret. Pump whined. Traverse stuck at 270 degrees. He pulled the seal. A 1/16-inch hairline split from ice expansion, common after 87 hours flight time. No tools fit the groove, but there, in the bomb bay littered with toolbox cast-offs, lay the nail. Rusted head, square shank from pre-war stock. Impulse. He filed the point blunt with a hacksaw, drove it laterally into the seal groove like a set pin on a pit pony harness. Tested the pump. Pressure held at 2,600 pij steady, no bleed. Why? The nail's iron shank, unyielding at 50,000 psi tensile strength versus brittle rubber rated 1,200, bridged the tear without flow restriction, letting oil surge past without back pressure. Simple physics, like jamming a dowel in a leaking pipe, forcing fluid through the narrow gap at 15 gallons per minute, unimpeded. He laughed, black humour Collier style. 2 pence beats £2,800 every time. First success came that very afternoon in a practice dogfight over the Wash. Simulated Ju-88 tow target at 1,500 feet. Turret froze solid mid-burst. Ice 2 inches thick glazing the muzzles. Griffiths bashed the nail in, 15 seconds flat. Spun 360 degrees, smooth. Guns cleared 800 rounds without hitch, scoring 92% hits on the drogue sleeve at 400 yards. Wing Commander Hargreaves watched from the Chase Hurricane, radio crackling. "Bloody hell, Griffiths, that's witchcraft! How'd you do it?" "Nail and spite, sir. Nail and spite." Ground crew tested it next dawn. After 4 hours at -20 degrees overnight, standard turrets seized. His pumped full. Traverse torque up 35% from 120 foot-pounds nominal. Word spread. By March 1st, 12 Wychford gunners copied the fix. Nails scavenged from hangar scrap at half a penny apiece. Casualties dropped. Squadron losses fell from 8 planes in February, 42 aircrew, to 3 in early March, 18 aircrew, crediting turret uptime jumping to 96%. But escalation loomed. On March 10th, over Stuttgart, 1,111 bombers dispatched, 37 lost. The nail held as Griffiths nailed two Me-219s at 600 meters, their radar-spoofing profiles vanishing in 4-second bursts of 1,800 tracer rounds. Crew cheered over intercom. "Nails, you mad Welsh bastard! That's 5 for the op!" Navigator Pete Wilkins added, "Luftwaffe's sniffing us out. 3 packs on radar at Angels 18. Post-raid debrief tallied 26 confirmed turret kills squadron-wide that month, up from 9 in February, with Griffiths Lancaster logging 14 alone across 8 sorties. Yet danger multiplied. Intelligence reported 214 new ROT formations, paired fighters, with Wilde Sau tactics, single-engine sharks diving from 25,000 feet unseen until 300 yards closing at 320 miles per hour. Flak corridors thickened to 2 miles wide, 128mm guns lobbing 500-pound shells in 27-second barrages. On March 14th's Dortmund raid, 698 Lancasters faced 147 night fighters. Predicted losses, 52. Griffiths' turret, nail-forged, chewed through 3 FW-190s by 0230 hours, wreckage spiraling 4,000 feet into the Rhine. 12 crew saved indirectly as the pack scattered. But as Popopsy banked port at 1,500 feet over Duisburg, escaping the 1,200 searchlight box, radar warning crackled. "Bogies, 10 o'clock high, 22 Angels, 40 plus." Griffiths slammed the turret around, nail biting firm, guns tracking the lead DO-217, diving at 450 miles per hour. Tracers arced. 800 yards, 500, 200. Hit! Flames licked its starboard engine, but the swarm descended, 18 more shadows peeling off in echelon, cannons winking yellow at 150-meter gaps. Recoil shuddered the mount at 60 pounds per shot. Hydraulic whined. Then, a sickening snap. The nail sheared under triple pressure burst. Turret locked dead center. Fighters closed to 90 yards. Shells punched the fuselage. Alarms screamed. Shells punched the fuselage. Alarms screamed. Evan Griffiths clawed at the frozen turret ring, fingers numb inside sheepskin gloves, as the DO-217's 30mm cannon shells, each packing 1.2 pounds of high explosive, stitched a 12-foot scar across Popopsy's starboard wing at 90 yards closing speed. Shrapnel pinged off the Perspex dome like hail on tin, one fragment slicing his cheek for a 2-inch gash, but welled hot blood into his oxygen mask. Forward, pilot Tom Riley yanked the Lancaster into a 60-degree bank at 240 miles per hour, shedding 1,500 feet in 18 seconds to skim Duisburg's 800-foot rooftops, where flak thinned to 40% density. The lead DO-217 grazed a chimney stack, exploding in a 200-yard fireball that lit 14 houses and scattered the swarm momentarily. Griffiths tasted copper and oil, but the nail, his 2-penny savior, had sheared clean at 3,800 psi overload from recoil vibration. 5 fighters still orbited at 2,000 feet, radar locked. Riley's voice cut the intercom static at 0247 hours. "Guns, talk to me! Turret alive?" Griffiths spat blood, grabbed his spare wrench from the toolkit lashed to the bulkhead, same 14-ounce model from the pit ponies, and fished a second nail from his flying suit pocket, this one filed smoother from practice runs. 9 seconds. Bash into the fresh seal groove, torque to 25 foot-pounds. Whir. Traverse freed. He hosed 600 rounds across the trailing FW-190's cockpit at 120 yards. Pilot slumped, plane corkscrewing into the Rhine at 300 feet per second, denying 3 crew ejections. Squadron tally jumped to 29 that night. Dortmund raid losses held at 23 Lancasters, 142 aircrew, versus predicted 52 birds and 312 souls. "Nail 2, you Welsh wizard," co-pilot MacDonald whooped. "That's 7 for you tonight." As Witchford's runway lights winked 180 miles northwest through dawn haze, Griffiths tallied his personal score. 11 confirmed across 28 ops, all post-nail. The fix went viral in Bomber Command's freezing dispersals. By March 20th, 1944, 87 gunners in 5 group alone hammered in nails, scavenged at quarter-penny each from hangar floor sweeps, boosting turret reliability from 53% to 94% in sub-zero ops. Griffiths demonstrated at RAF Marham on March 25th to 42 ground crew. "See the seal tear here, lads. Ice expands 9% in volume, splits rubber rated 1,100 psi cold. Nail bridges it. Iron takes 52,000 psi shear. Oil blasts through the 0.03-inch gap at 14 gallons per minute. No backflow." Tested live. Turret spun 720 degrees under 2,700 psi load after 6-hour minus 35-degree chill. Guns clearing 1,200 rounds without seize. Losses plummeted. 5 group downed 156 fighters in April versus 89 in March, while bomber attrition fell 28% from 1,214 heavies lost quarterly to 872. Second incident hit hard over Nuremberg on March 30th. 795 Lancasters dispatched, facing 210 night fighters in moonlit skies that turned the 1,500 searchlight belt into a 3-mile death funnel. At 01:52 hours, 21,000 feet, Griffiths's turret iced solid mid-turn as twin Me-109s slingshotted from 6 o'clock high at 380 miles per hour, their 20mm MGFF rounds chewing the tail at 70-yard bursts. Vibration shook loose a secondary hydraulic line, spraying glycol that flash froze on contact. Nail 1, in. But enemy flak, 96 guns at 450 rounds per minute, proximity fused 3 shells within 40 feet, EMP surge jamming electrics for 22 seconds. Blind. A burst shredded his gunner's panel, sparks showering like magnesium flares. Griffiths wedged nail 2 crosswise, bridging both seals, and pivoted. 900 rounds vaporized the lead 109's oil cooler at 250 yards. Wreckage cartwheeling through 3 mates in loose formation. 6 kills chained. Navigator Wilkins radioed post-sortie, "Evan, that was inches. Flak shrapnel in the bomb bay. 14 holes forward." Reich losses, 95 aircraft confirmed. Bomber Command crediting 312 turret assists. Third strike came during the Mailly-le-Comte bloodbath on April 29th to 30th. 617 Lancasters versus 318 Luftwaffe interceptors in 90 minutes of hell over a 5-mile tank park blazing 4,000 tons of fuel. Griffiths nailed 4 Ju-88s in 11 minutes at 19,000 feet, each 2 to 4 second bursts at 400 to 600 yards, amid 2,200 flak bursts per minute that claimed 42 bombers. One nail sheared from a cannon strike that punched 8 inches through the turret floor, wind roaring at 410 feet per second through the hole. He patched it with a sock stuffed in rag, old pit trick, and drove a third nail home, holding 2,900 psi as he tracked a DO-217 climbing to 1,800 feet below. Down it went, denying 4 crew. Wireless op chipped in. "Nails, you're a one-man flak battery. Squadron owes you 28 pints." That raid alone saw 88 RAF losses, 521 dead. But turret uptime saved an estimated 94 aircrew via 112 fighter claims. By D-Day plus 14, June 14th, 1944. Griffiths Lancaster flew Caen support, turrets nailing 3 FW-190s over Juno Beach at 500-foot deck level. Salt spray mixing with cordite at 68 degrees Fahrenheit ground rush. Nail 4 bent under sand ingestion, forcing a double nail clamp that boosted torque 42% to 170 foot-pounds. Total 18 kills personal, squadron at 214. Enemy adapted viciously by May. Luftwaffe Tech Chief Colonel Hayo Hermann ordered rotor patrols with radar jamming window chaff, strips cut to 10 centimeters by 1 centimeter, dropped at 8,000 per minute, blinding H2S, sets 70% effective, plus infrared flam detectors homing on exhaust glow from 5,000 meters. Schräge music mounts proliferated, 30mm Mk108 cannons, firing 650 rounds per minute, upward at 20-degree elevation, gutting 187 bomber bellies in June alone. At Bochum on May 12th, 442 Lanks, 24 lost. 2 Ju-88s piped Griffiths from below at 300 yards, unseen until tracers lanced up. Nail jammed sideways from glycol ice. He cleared it with a boot heel, pit coal pick style, and raked downward, severing one's tail at 180 rounds, the other banking into friendly flak for collateral. "They're learning our tricks, lads," Griffiths growled in debrief, coming low like ferrets up a drain pipe. High Command noted 36% uptick in belly attacks, forcing 1,200 turrets retrofitted with ventral guns by July at 1,200 pounds per plane. Luftwaffe issued bulletins by June 22nd. RAF turrets exhibit anomalous traverse. Inspect for ferrous shims. Captured Lancasters yielded 3 nails. Engineers replicated in 112 Me-110s as anti-radar spikes, ironically boosting their own hydraulics 18%. Night fighter losses climbed to 1,800 quarterly despite this, as RAF production hit 1,200 bombers monthly versus 240 German singles. Recognitions slammed Griffiths on July 3, 1944, at Wychford Parade Ground under drizzling rain at 54 degrees Fahrenheit. Wing Commander Hargreaves pinned the Distinguished Flying Medal, serial DFM 14287, for 26 confirmed destructions across 52 ops, saving 1,400 squadron aircrew indirectly via sustained defense. King George VI citation read, "Gunner Griffiths' improvised modification increased turret efficacy 89%, contributing to 214 enemy aircraft destroyed in 115 Squadron." Promotion to warrant officer followed, pay jumping from 10 shillings daily to 15/6, plus 28-day leave, where Ron the pubs toasted Nails the Nail Killer. But ops resumed July 28th over Stuttgart Redux. 612 bombers, 39 lost, with a Me-219 raking his turret at 110 yards, wounding his arm with 4 shrapnel flecks, requiring 12 stitches. Impact stats piled grimly. Griffith's nail spread to 2,400 turrets by VE Day, credited with 1,876 fighter claims, verified by 784 gun camera films, slashing Bomber Command night losses 41% from 4,712 in 1943 to 2,788 in 1944. Indirectly, 4,200 aircrew lived, calculated from 29% baseline kill rate dropped to 17% post-fix, across 18,500 sorties. US 8th Air Force copied it for B-17 Chin turrets, sinking adaptation costs to 3 pence per plane versus £800 factory seals. Kriegsmarine paralleled with U-boat periscope shims, but RAF data showed 312 fewer heavies lost quarterly. War ended for Griffiths on April 18, 1945, after 87 ops, record for 115 Squadron gunners. Lancaster P. Popsy scrapped with 1,214 patches. Demobbed September 12th at 33, he returned to Tonypandy pits, black dust familiar as cordite, earning £4 weekly, hauling 16 tons daily. Nail fame landed him BBC interview October 3rd, 1946. Wasn't brains, see? Just pit grit. Nail held when brass seals wept. By 1950, Cambrian colliery uptime rose 27%, copying the seal trick on pumps, averting 2 floods. Griffiths retired 1967 at 55, lungs at 62% capacity from dust and oxygen debt, living quietly till 1982 in a council flat overlooking the valley. Buried Ronda Cemetery, March 14th, anniversary of Dortmund, with DFM draped over coffin, 214 squadron survivors saluting. His nails? Mounted in RAF Museum Hendon, labels reading 2 pence versus 1,800 enemies. Legacy reshaped air war. Post-war NATO standardized Griffiths shims in 4,700 hydraulic mounts across Sabres and Lightnings, saving £2.1 million by 1955. Vietnam-era F-4 Phantoms adapted it for cannon hydraulics, crediting 112 MiG kills. Today, drone swarms use micro-nails in gimbal servos, echoing that frozen Ruhr night. One pitman's fix, simple, brutal, unbreakable. Tilted skies from 29% death to victory.